And that brown house over there on the right was actually where we used to live. So the two big bins, there's two big bins there that are 100,000 bushels, and then there's a top dry there for drying corn, and that holds 25,000 maybe down in the bottom. So that's where I used to farm.
Hi, I'm Tony Fast's daughter.
I'm Tony Fast's daughter.
I'm Tony Fast's daughter. Our family has been blessed to farm in Montana
For over 100 years now.
And it wouldn't be possible without the great team we have
and blessings from our Savior,
Jesus Christ.
This is the shop office where I used to work, and this actually here was my desk. That's even my old two-way radio and my computer. That was where I did a lot of my record keeping stuff. So there's my boss's desk, and they just had a cheeseburger cookout for me. But yeah, so a couple of us got together. That was great. Come back here. This is our old office. Meetings back here. Crop plan layout on a whiteboard painted on the wall. And this is what the farm used to look like. This is a neighboring farm down the road that was part of his family, and again, back to what it used to look like. It's kind of hard to see it, but that's the aerial view of it now, except for there's two big bins over there instead of just that one. So anyway, give you a little idea of where I used to work, and I'll take you out to the shop here in a bit. And this is the old shop. Parts room up there. Floor pit. Changing oil. Pretty nice shop. Here's a service truck that we used in the field. And that's actually my old company pickup that I used to drive. Again, the loft up there, we store a lot of parts, filters, a little extra stuff here and there. And that's the combine I used to run. So yes, I changed from John Deere to Red. I know some people are gonna throw a fit, but this was its third harvest this year. I ran it for the first two. Those are 1145 R46 LSW wheels. Very nice riding combine. And I did not run this header. They actually purchased this header. This is the first year. I ran one like it. It is a Drago head for corn, and I ran one very similar to it, the older model prior to this model, but that was a pretty nice machine. And it's still a nice machine. It's well taken care of. The guys are actually working on cleaning it up and getting it ready to be put to bed now. So yeah, that gives you a little taste of our shop. This here is a, I believe 50 foot, if I remember right, hydraulic swing door. And yeah, that's how you open it, that's how you close it. And whatever you do, don't park your car right in front of it, because it will lift your car off the ground. So the shop is heated with water. It's a hydronic floor heat inside there. So yeah, that gives you guys a little bit of an idea of where I came from. I'll go outside and show you a little bit more here in a bit. Well, I had a really good visit with the guys. That's their old 4450. This is their tool shed where we stored stuff, and that's the barn where the 4-H projects were. So I'll show you a little bit of the grain system real quick on my way out. This bin right here is a wet holding bin for when they're doing corn harvest. They dry a lot of their corn here. This is one of the 100,000 bushel bins, and so is this one over here. And back in there is the dryer bin. So there's basically a roof inside the roof up there that the corn sits on, and heat through those big channels right there. Air is blown up through there, about 190 degrees, 180 degrees, depending on what they need. Blows hot air underneath of it. Once it gets to a certain temperature and has been in there for a certain time, it then falls down through chutes that open and close as needed, and down into the bottom is storage. So that's how that works. It's a little breezy here today. This is the pit where we dump the trucks, and it goes up the leg. The leg is 120 feet tall at the turn down, I believe, if I remember right. So, well, he's got everything shut off. But touch screen controls to run the bins, to pull grain out of the bins, or run the leg and the pit that's just outside. This is the dryer controller here. This is where he would set all of his temperatures and everything. He has this camera set up, and that's hooked to his Wi-Fi, to his phone also, so at any time, whether he's in the combine or in a truck, whatever he's doing during harvest, and guys are busy, he can watch what the dryer's doing. He can make sure that it's continuing to run by watching it on this camera, and make sure that it's still running, not shut down. Everything here, we're a little short on power here. So to get 3-phase here, apparently they're having problems, was very difficult and very expensive. So everything here is run off of VFDs, otherwise known as variable frequency drives. So that's how everything's ran. So you want to talk about needing to be OCD for an electrician. I don't know how you keep all those wires straight, but here's the PLC drive. That's basically the brains behind everything in that box, and the breaker switches for it. So there's just main panel box for the electricity coming in, and yeah, that's the grain room, that's the control room. Oh, and over here is obviously our moisture tester. Checks weights, grain moisture, temperature, all that fun stuff. Up top there, it's just a 2-way radio repeater tower. So also the local internet company has some Wi-Fi antennas on top of our grain leg, or not our, sorry, on top of the grain leg. I'm not our here anymore. On top of the grain leg, they have Wi-Fi antennas, so that's the Wi-Fi company's box. So anyway, one of the things that Indiana has, not as much as Montana, but one of the things that Indiana has is wind turbines. So and wind, but yeah, these are all wind turbines. There is a huge amount of wind turbines around here. This is one of the better areas for them, I guess. But yeah, that's just part of Indiana, I guess. One of the things that the farm that I worked at did was they partnered on some equipment with a neighboring farm so that they could get larger pieces of equipment and get in and out of the fields in a quicker, timelier fashion. And the one farm that we partnered with, their dad also raced cars. So this is Walt Kelly's race car that he used to drive. It is a Porsche. I know nothing about this car other than Walt drove it. He's been in quite a few races, and I'll show you some of his plaques here in a minute. But this is Walt's race shop. This is part of the farm that we partnered with on some equipment. They also did go-karts. Both Walt and his son, Kevin, were Purdue graduates from Purdue University in their engineering program. And this is one of Walt's other projects that he's been working on. It's pretty neat stuff. So he rebuilt the frame, motor, we'll do the interior, body work, make a pretty sweet little hot rod. They sell lots of plumbing parts you need, valves, pipe fittings. They do a lot of heat exchangers for anhydrous ammonia. There's Gray Cat. I'm sure that cat's got a name, but we just call it Gray Cat. So they stay pretty busy selling a lot. They can also custom build you wire harnesses. They sell satellite equipment, here's some of the, this is what they'll do. They can take a stainless steel tank like this, they will polish it, shine it brand new. They will custom build you a bracket for whatever. Here's a good bracket that looks like they're working on, that can mount to any piece of equipment that you want. They have actually even borrowed the tractors from the farm that I used to work for to use the frame to mock up a new bracket that they could put into production to sell throughout to whoever wanted one. So they would sell you hoses, basically anything that you need to put on liquid or anhydrous ammonia, they can set you up. So yeah, pretty neat deal. It was really nice to, if you ever needed a valve, to be less than 5 miles away from a parts store that you could get almost anything you wanted, including building hydraulic hoses if you needed to. And if you're at all interested in any of these stainless tanks, you can look up Kelly Engineering on the internet at KelleyEng, KelleyEng.com. Kelly Engineering, KelleyEng.com. They would be more than happy to see what they can do to serve you best, to see if they can get you what you need to keep you farming. Well, this is a bit of a bummer. I have a check engine light on and I am 1,300 miles away from home. But I was able to find, I had code red and was able to find the part that I need, and my former place of employment was awesome and gracious enough to allow me to use some shop space. Well, this is really terrible lighting, but the solenoid that I need to replace is right back in here where I can barely fit my finger. So it looks like I got to pull all of this off, possibly this. Let's hope not. Well, unfortunately they sent me the wrong part, but one of the things I searched on that sensor was sometimes just cleaning it works. So while I had the sensor out, and that's when I realized that I had gotten the wrong part, I went ahead and cleaned it out really good and put it back in, and the check engine light went off. So I think we're okay. I'm going to take it back into town, return the wrong part, and have them clear the code. Again, the VSC light is still on my dash, but the check engine light went off. So I'll have them clear it and see if that doesn't take the VSC code light off the dash. And if it does, if not, we'll search for the right part, especially now that I have a better idea of what it exactly looks like. So there's 4 of them and they all look very similar. It's just the mount hole that you screw the bolt in to hold them in there tight is what was in a different position. So a couple comments in some previous videos, I had a few people asking my background. So I actually grew up in southeast Wyoming. We moved out there when I was pretty young, and then I met my wife in Jackson, Wyoming at a ski resort actually, and she's from Indiana. So we moved back here, got married and started our family, and I've always had the desire to go back out west. While living in Indiana, I was working on a farm and doing some commercial trucking, things like that along with the farm. We decided that we wanted to, that it was time, that we decided that we wanted to try and get back out west. So we kind of started looking. We ended up, I knew Tony very, very little. I met him once at the Farmer to Farmer conference in 2019, I believe. But it was a simple, hey, how are you doing? You know, talk for less than 5 minutes, I guess. Anyway, that's what clued me on to Tony's YouTube stuff. So I started watching his videos and just learning about it. And I really liked his character. I liked the way he worked with Colin and all that they did. It just intrigued me. So one day out of the blue, I emailed him a resume just to see. And funny enough, he called me back, and when he called me back, I had been dealing with a lot of scam phone calls. So I think actually when I saw a phone number from Montana, I was like, okay, this is dumb. I thought it was a scam call. You know, it had been several weeks, maybe 2 weeks, since I had emailed him my resume. So I answered the phone. Go ahead, caller, you're on the air. And anyway, I ended up talking to him for a little bit, but nothing really came about it at that time. And so carrying on throughout the next almost a year or so, I would occasionally message Tony on Instagram. Most of it was jokes, teasing him about windmills and all sorts of fun stuff like that, because here in Indiana there's a lot of wind turbines, not many windmills, but wind turbines generating electricity. So I would tease him about windmills, things like that, nothing very serious. But anyway, one day in January, this last January, I got a message from Tony, and we started talking again, and then he told me that that's when Colin had made the decision that he was going to head back and work with his dad, and that Tony was at the point of looking for some help. And so I said I would definitely be interested. So we started investigating it more. Like I said, that was January sometime. In March, my wife and I left the kids with some family here, and we drove all the way out and talked with Tony and Amy, met the family, saw the place, saw the area, and just had an enjoyable time. And we left there knowing that this is where God wanted us to be. And so we started making plans and getting geared up, and Tony had enough help with Nacho and then Colin coming back to help with spring seeding that Tony said, let's kind of hold this off until June, which was fine, because that gave me a chance to finish planting season here in Indiana where I was working and get them through their busy time of the year, one of the busy times of the year. So we did that, and then mid-June, late June, we had our moving truck and loaded up and headed out there. And yeah, the Fast are a great family, including Tony's parents, Tony's family. The local people around the area have been very helpful, very nice people. So it took a little getting used to. Had a few hurdles to get over when we got there. We got sick shortly after we moved. Our dogs got into porcupines, just all sorts of crazy things happened. But we knew that this is where we were supposed to be, and things have settled down and are going good now, and we're really enjoying it, and made some good connections in our church, and made some good connections in the area with neighbors, and have started our new lives. Our kids seem to be doing really well out there. They love the wide open area. Our boys are wanting and desiring heavily to get into some hunting, and which you have hunting in Indiana. It just never seemed like we had time to do it. But so hopefully we'll be able to do some hunting out there and just grow stronger as a family. And that's where we're at. That's where I'm from. So anyway, if that helps, if that kind of gives you a little insight to who I am and where I came from, and yeah, hope you guys enjoy it. It's taking a little bit to get used to the camera. I'm doing a little bit better, but it's a little different with the camera in your face, but you get used to it. And I don't always remember my camera. I've noticed that half of the time I start into a project and I start putting it on video, and then I forget to show the end of the project. But so I got to work on that a little bit too. But anyway, yeah. So that's who I am. That's where I came from. Well, I made it back. 3,602 miles round trip, and the farthest east point was almost Columbus, Ohio, where we were my wife's grandparents. So it was a trip. 2-day drive back. Visited some family, did some family Christmas stuff. Went to Ohio, came back, visited with more friends and family, and then a 2-day trip home. So I did not have any problems with the check engine light after I cleaned out that sensor. I was able to return the part, and the van did really well on the way home, which is awesome because that's always a big concern. But I would hate the thought of being broke down somewhere on the side of the road. So, but anyway, it was a good trip, and we're glad to be home. And yeah, back to work on Monday.